Alright guys, hi there, welcome to our channel, and my name is Wade.
Creed.
And today we're going to be discussing the not so new, but still relatively new Solo movie, an original Star Wars movie. So let's start out with Creed here. What'd you think of the movie? What were your first impressions?
So like to preface, I want to say that like me, I'm kind of in the middle. I'm not really I am a hardcore Star Wars fan, but I'm not like one of those people that knows all the intricacies, all like the small, minute details about everything about Star Wars. But I'm a big fan, so I'm a bit more knowledgeable than the casual fan, I would say. But in my opinion, it was a good movie. It really highlighted the points of how like Han Solo got his attitude on the Empire, got his attitude on life in general. So that's why I really liked the movie. It got a bad rap from the reviews as usual, but I think in general science fiction films get a bad rap in general. Like, overall, they don't really get good reviews from the sources that be, but they do well in the box office. So I think that's where it counts in my opinion. As long as the fans liked it in general.
So one thing about Solo though is that it did not do well in the box office.
Oh, it didn't?
No, it didn't. And a lot of that had to do with hardcore Star Wars fans like myself going in there and being like, this movie absolutely blows, and there's, it has nothing to do with the storyline, and it's not a true Star Wars movie. Kind of how originally I felt about Rogue One, which we'll get into later, not right now. But like Solo, I felt it was a new perspective on the Star Wars universe. We got to see some different aspects of the Star Wars universe. We got to see Corellia. We got to see how Han Solo, the galactic bad boy, kind of got his start. And I felt like, it didn't deserve the bad rap. It didn't deserve the box office fail, which was kind of disappointing that it did so poorly in the box office. But I mean, we saw it together. It was awesome. I was just like, I've been a huge Han Solo fan since I was like that big. But I've always been into Han Solo. So, for me, it was like a dream come true to finally see the backstory and finally see where that 12 parsec Kessel Run came into play.
So as a hardcore Solo fan, like, did it really differ from the way that the novels and the books written about Solo? Because I think it did. I've heard different stories about how Han Solo began. There's some stories about how he was originally with the Empire. He was a fighter pilot. He went through the whole training with starfighter training, and how he met Chewie was that he rescued Chewie from being a slave, and that's how Chewie became his partner, because Chewie had like a life debt to him. They kind of touched on that a little bit in the movie. He did rescue Chewie, I guess, but it's still different a bit. Am I correct?
So from the original books that were written about Han Solo's background, yes, it was slightly different. They touched on the fact that he wanted to be a fighter pilot. He didn't really get into flight school. He ended up being like an infantryman or whatever. And then technically in the movie he did save Chewie, but he didn't actually save Chewie. It was kind of one of those gray areas. And the thing about all of these new Star Wars movies is that they're not actually following any of those books written so long ago that George Lucas approved, which is where a lot of contention arises in some of these hardcore fans that read those books when they were kids or anything like that. Is just, or right after the movies came out, they read these books and then they develop this whole storyline in their mind, and then J.J. Abrams comes in and screws it all up. So it's one of those things, and I know Ron Howard did for a last-minute director change. Ron Howard did an excellent job at Solo, and that was very impressive.
And the actors themselves did a really good job of portraying all the different characters. Like Lando, he was he didn't the original Lando was flamboyant and all that, and the way they was portrayed in this film, he was just the same. It was like a copy paste, but in a good way.
Yeah.
And I think the actor that played Han Solo, what's his name again?
I forget what the dude's name is.
He did a great job. I believe he was in some some TV shows, and he did a good job portraying the way Solo, would have been in his younger years. And I'm just really glad the way that they kind of tied it in to the way that the current Star Wars universe is. And it diverted from the books, but it didn't divert too much that it didn't tie in. And I think that's the best way to do it.
So the dude who played Solo, I'm gonna butcher this name, and it's bad because I have a ridiculous last name as well. But his name is Alden. What is that? Ehrenreich, something like that. But yeah, no, solid job on portraying a young Solo.
No offense to any of his fans.
Yeah,
for the
no,
butchering the name.
Like.
But Donald Glover did a really good job.
I was really surprised with Donald Glover,
yeah,
honestly. I was expecting, I was expecting something from, we've seen Donald Glover in Community, right?
Yes.
And I feel like that Donald Glover, perfect for Lando. But then you start getting into Childish Gambino, and then you start getting into the Atlanta Donald Glover,
Oh, yeah.
and that Donald Glover doesn't really fit well with the Lando, but he managed to pull it off. And
Oh, yeah,
I mean, even the voice fluctuations and everything were pretty spot on.
Yeah, I think he portrayed a really good version of how Billy D. Williams would have been when he was younger. So that's one of the main points of the film. And also, so for those of you who have not seen the film, we're gonna have some spoilers in this little podcast. The way that they brought in Darth Maul, that's a spoiler.
Yeah, total spoiler. So
the way that
sorry
they
about
brought him in was really, really surprising. Like you could see in the theater that people were just surprised. Like that came out of nowhere. That was pretty cool how they tied it in because, that also brings about how the cartoons play into the Star Wars films, like with Clone Wars playing into the films, as well as Star Wars Rebels, which I've watched a little bit of, but not as much. I've been more of a fan of Clone Wars. I'm glad that they're rebooting it, actually. They're bringing it back.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, there's so, kind of a little digression. Disney just decided to not only reboot, but bring back Clone Wars and make a new season of all the stuff that were unfinished. So, when they got canceled in 2013, it was around the same time that Disney acquired Star Wars franchise. They canceled Clone Wars abruptly, but now they're bringing it back, making all those episodes that were canceled and not finished, they're finishing them up. So I'm really glad they're tying in to the Clone Wars with this whole Darth Maul arc, because, from the movie standpoint, he's dead. But from the Clone Wars and the Rebels, you show that he survived getting killed back in the Phantom Menace. He got prosthetic legs, and he's on hunt for vengeance. So it's pretty cool how they tied him into the criminal underworld, because if you read some of the Darth Maul comics that I did back in the day, there's this one comic series I like where he went against a criminal syndicate, Black Sun, and he pretty much wiped them all out and became the leader of it. And that was all on the wishes of Darth Sidious. And now they're kind of bringing him into the whole criminal underworld as his own thing, which is pretty cool. So I'm really glad that he tied that in.
So possibly an origin story on
Hopefully,
Darth Maul.
yeah.
I mean, that would be excellent because,
Yeah.
I mean, if we think about it, all of the spin-off movies have done so much better storyline-wise and plotline-wise than the actual Star Wars movies that are a continuation of the saga.
7 and 8 specifically.
Yeah. 7 and 8, they do way better in the box office, but they, let's just say they're not as substantial as these spin-off movies have been.
We can talk more about that later, and that's just our opinion. So they're great movies, and the actors themselves were great. They all did a great job, but we can talk more about that in a later film. Wayne and I will talk about that later on.
Sounds good. So, so in your honest opinion here, I'll wait till you're done drinking. In your honest opinion here, would you recommend that you go see Solo?
Honestly, yes. I gave it, from my personal standpoint, a 9 out of 10. It was a great movie. There were a bit of hiccups here and there, but that comes with any film, and it was a really good movie. The story itself was great. The actors did a great job. The plot was pretty well written. Just overall, it was a good film, and I don't think it deserved such a bad rap that it got. Honestly, I can see from how some hardcore fans do disagree with what happened and how it was, carried out. But overall, it was a great film. How about you, Wayne?
Well, coming from a hardcore fan, I definitely appreciated the movie. I definitely liked the backstory of everything. The only thing I kind of had an issue with was I wanted a little more. Pretty much the whole movie focuses on how they get that 12 parsec Kessel Run.
Oh yeah.
It's like the whole story revolves around that kind of. And like there was a little bit in the beginning when he was like a kid and everything like that. And then there was like maybe 5 minutes of him actually being part of the Empire.
Yeah.
If that. And then there was some betrayal, there was a love interest, all that normal movie crap. But I did want a little more. I wanted a little more of how like maybe him exploring and maybe getting in more trouble with Chewie. But excuse me, I feel like a lot of that could probably be a sequel versus.
There definitely will be a sequel. You think?
I think so. They set it up really well for a sequel. So I really hope that they do end up coming out with a sequel after that whole 12-second parsec run and kind of seeing what happens next with Solo and Chewie. But I would recommend watching it. Don't go see it in the theaters, obviously, because I think at this point it's probably just.
I don't think it's in theaters anymore.
I mean, it's probably in those dollar theaters, which is fine. I mean, if you want to go spend $1 and go see it, go for it. And I know it should be out, if it's not already out, on DVD, Blu-ray, iTunes, stuff like that. I would first of all recommend renting it because rental is definitely an option now. You can rent it on Prime, you can rent it on Apple, Netflix. I mean,
not so much.
If you do the DVD rental, maybe. I haven't seen it on Netflix. It might be up there next month. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely recommend watching it. And if you're a diehard Solo fan and just want to complete your Star Wars collection, buy it. Why not? But yeah, I would first of all start renting it. I know when we saw it in theaters, I ended up going with my girlfriend, and then Creed over here tagged along, and we were sitting next to this dude who was just sitting there going, ha, ha, the whole time.
So he obviously enjoyed it.
I mean, yeah,
he was having a good time.
Yeah, and he was there with his kid and everything. So I'm assuming that he enjoyed it. But yeah, I mean, every time I watch any movie in a theater, I'm just like, oh, dude, I hope, dude isn't there. Like he sounded like an elephant seal. I mean, I swear.
He was trying to be like Chewie, I guess.
Yeah, I guess he was trying to channel his inner Chewie there. Yeah. But yeah, no, I would recommend 10 out of 10.
Oh yeah. So yeah, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you let us know in the comments below. What do you think about the film? Have you seen it? What your your stance on if it's a good film, if it's a bad film, and yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, and for sure, let us know also in the comments of what movies you want us to look at next and what movies you want us to do a video on next. Also, being that this is our first video, congrats. We've been talking about this for over a year now, and it's only been in such a way that we've actually been able to just sit down and do this.
We managed to get finally managed to get this high quality background. We got this amazing set. We're come a long way, yeah. So
he's being facetious. We're doing this in my garage. But yeah, no. Please let us know in the comments of anything else you would want us to review and see, and just kind of shoot the fish about.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, but thanks for watching, and hope to see you on the next one.